So we are Tuesday the 9th, unusually on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, as a one-off of April, 9th of April 2024. Thank you for being here, everybody. And if you don't already know my name, Alexis Constantinou, I've been hosting Sacred Segments for a few years now and meeting some beautiful people from all over the world, including all of you. So thank you for being here. And I'm excited about our guest this evening. Kate, would you just like to introduce yourself, and I'll ask everyone to introduce themselves. Do you want to just say hello?
Well, my name is Kate Thorvaldsen. Been to your show before and is happy to be back. And last time I was on your show, I was talking about my ET close encounters through my life. So has been a little bit more quiet on that area these days, but of course that makes me time to make a new book. So now I've made another book that is called Knows About Water. And This is a book that is how to prevent depressions and how to get depression free without the drugs.
Awesome.
It talks about spirituality and psychiatry and all sort of stuff. Let's say you are psychiatry and spirituality. Everyone knows that that's not a good combination.
Well, it is for me, but
well,
I'm
for
not
most
maybe
people, if you are spiritual and you're having some issues and coming to a psychiatry place, well, they will feed you a lot with tablets and say you are hallucinating or all sorts of things. And yeah, they are talking without knowing.
Well, I'm fascinated to hear more about your book and your experiences, which we will do on your main segment in about 25 minutes, right? But really glad you're here. Thank you for joining us again. And you look wonderful. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. Well, I look quite pale. This light is.
No, you don't.
I turn it down, but of course, since the camera is wrong on my computer right now, then there's
yeah. And I love the space background. Is that significant for you?
Yeah, I like space.
I love space.
I think space is beautiful. Seeing all those pictures from the Hubble and the newer one that I forgot the name of right now. The images is just stunning.
Absolutely gorgeous. I love it too. Great. Okay. Brenda, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, and if I have to leave and I can't hear your piece, I definitely am interested in listening. So I'll watch the replay only because I have the challenge right after this, because I think your bio is fascinating about your encounters, Kate. Yeah, I'm Brenda, and I teach storytelling, and I teach healing from your stories, and I teach the impact we can make by sharing our stories in a very powerful way. I have a critically acclaimed one-woman show called My Brooklyn Hamlet that I've performed all over the world, and I speak on the power of forgiveness. Just briefly, the story that was the catalyst that started this for me was that my father, who I adored, shot and killed my mother back in 1995 and then married her sister, my aunt. And that is definitely one of those stories, like everybody has a story that could break you. But when I found a way to find joy and trust myself again and be open to love, I just felt like I had to share it. And for me, starting as an actress, the natural route was natural. I didn't want to tell my story. I wanted to hide. I was filled with shame, but it was natural for me. In class, about a year after it happened, there was an exercise called a personal monologue, and it was about not hiding anymore. And I just at that point knew I felt like I was suffocating by not saying what I had lived through. And so I put it up on stage, not ever thinking it would be the critically acclaimed show I've performed, but it evolved into that. And had a Hero of Forgiveness Award. I went back to school, got a master's in spiritual psychology, so I could look at my story not just as an actress and healing from jumping into the characters, but how could I also thrive after this happened and help others? And so I also am a coach. And then I just started teaching about video about 7 years ago, because as an actress, I had all the experience, and all my, friends and colleagues were coaches and were like, how do you get on video? How do you do it? And so I started teaching that as well as storytelling. There you go.
I want to say that, every time every time I hear you speak, a little bit more information comes out, and I'm always blown away by your authenticity and your vulnerability and your presence, and just I find you so courageous, and thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I spoke about a year ago or so on one of these before. So thanks for having me again.
Great to see
I
you.
must say, I'm sorry for your loss back in those days, but I must say I can also relate to that kind of story. I have very much the same background myself.
Wow.
But
And that's why
it was not my mother, but it was my father, yeah.
Wow. See, and that's why I will share my story until the end of time. That's why, because someone doesn't feel so alone or relates. For me too. Like, oh my God, to meet someone like that. That's why, like, whenever I think, oh, I'm sharing so much or I shouldn't share it, then I'm like, I know someone is going to help someone or remind them, that always we can be more, we can attract a different life than what we had, Thanks for
Absolutely. No,
sharing.
I'm also using my story because
Oh,
my
good.
background has made me who I am and made me strong. So
What happened with your father?
no, he killed my his second wife after my mother.
Yeah.
But he came to
Yeah.
us before he went there to do it.
Oh, wow.
And then he came back after he had done it. With blood on his shirt and everything, and the police stormed our house later in the night. I was
Wow.
around 6, 7 years old.
Oh, thank God you and your mother are still alive.
Yeah, we're still alive.
I had a client that happened to. Well, when she was married to her husband, he was just pulled a gun on her and her daughter. Then she got out of that relationship, but he killed his second wife. And she was actually doing a talk for rookies to how do you deal with domestic violence situations and stuff like that. So that's really, yeah, it's really scary, but it's really an important story, especially with, what you've gone on to do. That's what I mean. Like everybody, even there are some people who think they don't have a story, and that's only because in my experience, they grew up in households where they felt invisible or felt like they didn't matter. That is the only reason, because you don't have to have a dramatic story like ours to be able to make a difference in other people's lives. And then for me, having such a big story, I thought no one could relate to it. But of course, everybody can relate to fear, grief, not knowing how to navigate in the world after you've been hurt so badly and stuff. So thank you for saying that.
I just want to say thank you for sharing that, Kate. Before we hear from Anna, I just want to say there's another Anna who is part of this group, who is a teacher of psychology, spiritual psychology, and teaches in LA, who also witnessed the murder of her parent. And she did some research into psychic phenomena and what makes people psychic. And she discovered that they have gone through incredible trauma, and it's an initiation. It's a huge initiation into kind of like an awakening of your consciousness, is what she discovered. And I'd very much like to, ask her to come on while you ladies are here. And
that would be incredible. Like I just got chills when you said that, because when I think about my intuitive senses, it only happens after that, or my opening to that. That's really powerful.
So interesting. So interesting. It all makes sense, right? When you take a step back and you look at the bigger picture, there is a thread, and we can't always see what it all means until later on, and then we have deeper understanding and insights, and the synchronicity is all interweave. It's very interesting. Anna, let's hear from you. Please do introduce yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Anna Pavlakis, and I'm originally from New York City, but I live in Spain. Yeah, fellow New Yorker. And I'm a shamanic healer as well as a feng shui practitioner. And I'm also a spiritual coach and teacher. And it's really interesting that we're talking about traumas in childhood, because the first eclipse, the lunar eclipse, I've been working through some really big trauma that happened to me as a child because of my gifts. The trauma happened because of my spiritual gifts, which I've had since I was born. And yeah, so I love working with people, and I especially love doing energy clearings and exorcisms. Not to put, because I'm kind of a badass.
I love the laugh that went with that. There was something very cartoonish about it.
I know. And I just laugh at all of this because you kind of have to. Yeah, Spain is amazing. I've been getting a very strong message, though, that I'm supposed to go back to America and go to Santa Fe.
Wow.
But a lot of things have to happen for that to happen, so I don't know. But my
There
heart
was
is here. So who knows?
there was a speaker on Gaia TV, and I know that Kate, you've been on Gaia TV, who has been on Sacred Segments, who teaches about the runes, and he also works with clearing dark entities and energies, and he talks about laughing at the negative energies, and your laugh reminded me of that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to ask permission.
It's a shaman thing. We just laugh.
Right.
We laugh at stuff.
I'm going to ask permission about timing before we go on. I want to hear from Leap Mindfulness and Meditation. Could you say hi?
Hello, hi, I'm Sally. Sorry.
Sally,
Sally.
great that you joined us. Hey,
Yeah,
how
sorry,
are
I forgot
you?
you said that on my thing. I've been rushing, so I've just been in the gym doing some badass bench presses and deadlifts and stuff.
And you got told about Sacred Segments from, please remind me.
So my friend Denise Richardson,
Yes.
yeah, she told me we were on a walk, and she told me, and then she messaged me, and then you obviously just kind of, this popped up pretty much straight away. So I just thought I don't really know much about it. I was like,
you
oh,
teach meditation, right? You teach meditation.
Yeah, so I sort of I teach meditation, so I run retreats and do lots of coaching. But I work quite a lot with teenagers. So I do a lot of work with 11 to 19-year-olds really. So
yeah,
we have to do it more in the realm of like mindfulness and stress management and all of that.
Yes.
But a lot of what I do is with my one-to-one clients is massively spiritually driven, emotionally driven. I do lots of shamanic stuff as well, which I really love. So yeah, it's like the spectrum of the everyday, like, this is going to pay the bills, and I'm going to talk to people about mindfulness and meditation, all the way to the other end of the stick of like, yeah, real development of working with source or higher self or whatever that might be.
Sally, I'm so glad that you found this group, so glad you joined us, and I look forward to speaking more with you in the future and having you on as a guest. I'd love you to do an introductory 10-minute segment in the future on another Sacred Segments. I'm going to ask permission to just shift timings a little bit. So, Anna, I would like you to initially do the 10-minute clearing, and then I want to hear 10 minutes from Brenda, and then Kate, for you to do your main guest segment. I just want to ask, is that okay with everybody? Is everybody good with those timings? Brenda, Kate?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second. Kate, and then I'll go after her, and then the
And
others.
Anna,
Yeah.
Kate, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your flexibility. Okay.
What would you have done if I said no?
Well, then I'll let you go at past. If you need to, then we can do that.
Wait, so I'm going first and then
I want you to go first to set up the field of energy for protection.
okay.
And then I go
Okay.
second.
Okay.
All right, great. Okay, so I'm gonna please time yourself. I'm also gonna time you. So set a 10-minute countdown and please begin as
Okay,
soon
but
as
if
you
I have
can.
my eyes closed, I'm not gonna see the time.
All right, I'll remind you when we're 1 minute away, okay?
Okay. Although I might not have my eyes closed. Okay. Should I start
Okay.
now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, Alexis. Hi everyone. I'm Anna. Anna in Spain, but originally from New York City. And as I said before, I'm a shamanic healer. And one of my specialties that I discovered back when I was studying feng shui and space clearing was that I realized that I'm really, really good at clearing negative energies from spaces and people. And Alexis had asked me to come and talk about spiritual protection. Was that it? Right?
Right.
Yeah, I've spoken about clearing and protection in the past before, but I'm going to do that and do some protection around us, right? So I use a lot of different methods, but I do want to say for you guys and anybody who's watching in the future that it's really, really important. And it's not about being in a state of fear. It's quite the opposite. A lot of people think, oh, if I'm, worried about protecting myself spiritually, that I'm in fear. It's really quite the opposite. It's really about being in your power and about having boundaries and about saying, this energy is allowed in, this energy isn't. So I always tell my students, imagine that there's a bouncer at the door of your energy grid. And the bouncer gets to say what energy can come in and what energy can't. And it's really about that. It's really about being in your power and being tuned in enough so that you can recognize when something that is not of the light is trying to get in and mess with you. And because what it could do is it could lead to mood swings, like if you notice all of a sudden you're feeling really, really angry and you don't know why, or you suddenly feel like this wave of despair come over you and you don't know why, or anything like that, a feeling of alienation, all of, and I'm speaking from experience because I've had all of this happen to me. Or a feeling of suddenly you have a headache, a pressure in your head, a weight on your shoulders, or a run of bad luck or something. So all of these are indications that there may be something that has entered into your energy grid. So it's always a good idea to have a practice where you both clear yourself regularly, and especially like at the end of, well, before that you go out into the world, and also when you come back home, and anytime you're in a very dense energy, right? And I learned this the hard way growing up in New York City, which is, as you know, a very, very dense thing. So what I wanted to share with you today, it's something, it's not my own material. I always like to give credit to, this is something that I was given some years ago, and I find it very, very useful. And it's something that you could do in a fairly short amount of time. That's why I'm doing it with you guys, because the other stuff I do tends to take a really long time, like 40 minutes or so. We don't have that much time. So what this is called the triple grid protection. And there's one version that you could do for your home and one version you could do for your individual field. And so with your permission, we will do that, okay? And if you don't want to participate in this, just just tell your higher self that you're not connected to this. No one's forcing anybody to participate in this, but with your permission, I'm going to lead you through this. Okay. So take a minute and close your eyes. And just take a deep breath in through your nose and release. Take one more breath through your nose and release. Good. And you can place your awareness in at your heart center. And I'm going to do the triple grid around each and every person listening to this now or in the future who wants to receive it. Legions of Michael, grid level 1, spherical each person's fields. Grace Elohim, grid level 2, spherical each person's fields. Circle security, grid level 3, spherical each person's fields. Grace Elohim, please fill your grid with your energies, releasing astral entities, adverse electromagnetic frequencies, fear, loneliness, alienation, disharmony, anger, rage, adverse astrological influences, expectation, frustration, viruses, fungi, bacteria, worry, astral distortions, miscommunication, sadness, enemy patterning, scarcity, poverty consciousness, loneliness, karmic monads, and anything that distorts the spiritual signature or clear communication with spirit. Release anything that hasn't been mentioned in this or any other language, but which you know needs to leave my fields at this time. Spirit, I ask you to release all energies, entities, thought forms, emotions, cellular memories, orientations, pictures of reality, devices, intrusions, inlays, overlays, distortions, false matrices, and effects in our body and fields that are not of our core divine essence now. Thank you, Grace Elohim. Legions of Michael, please infuse your grid with the energies of grace, purity, faith, hope, peace, liberty, harmony, and victory Elohim. Infused with love, intimacy, the unified chakra, centeredness, clarity, full connection with spirit, tolerance, clear communication, health, radiant good health, wealth, abundance, kindness, following spirit without hesitation, mastery, sovereignty, personal power, living heaven, and anything else that hasn't been mentioned in this or any other language, but which you know needs to be in our fields at this time. Please seal your grid. Thank you. Circle security, realign your grid to harmonize with upper dimensional grid works. Release all distortions and parasites on the grids. Infuse frequencies for clearer communication with spirit. Seal the grid. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We're at 1 minute.
So it is done. It is done. So this is something that I learned to do that I like because it doesn't take a long time. There's also a version you could do for your home. And once you've like established it, you can also just re-invoke it very quickly. Once you've established this, and that's one of the things I wanted to say about spiritual protection is when you have a practice and you create these like layers of protection around you, and you've spent enough time doing it, you can automatically just say, okay, grid, shields up, and you don't have to go through the
Re-access.
whole process. Exactly. You
That's
just realign yourself with it. So I hope this was helpful.
very helpful. Thank you, Anna. And you know what's amazing is that I encountered the triple grid about 20 years ago. So it's incredible to hear somebody doing it other than me, because I just kind of stumbled across it, and I felt how powerful it is.
It really
Really
is. It was sent to
great.
me, and I'm very grateful to the person who shared it with me those years ago, because it helped me very much.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you
so-
very much, Anna, and hope to hear from you a bit later on. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was cool. Okay, Brenda, are you there?
I am here and flying high from that. That was wonderful. That was so wonderful, so experiential, visceral. It was really great. I feel like I have so much more energy than I came in, like focused energy. And I'd never heard this one before. That was beautiful, beautiful energy that you carry with it. Wow.
Oh, thank
you. No accidents for showing up. Felt like my soul and my body needed that. Okay. So I'm improvising today based on what he said this session was about. And you know, as a critically acclaimed actor and speaker, I'm used to scripting, although I do a lot of interviews and stuff. But when he talked about this, immediately I knew what I wanted to talk about. And it is something that's in my one-person show, and I had a breakthrough around sharing it on stage, right? Because there's these things we live through, and then there's how do you articulate it in such a way that the audience gets it in this visceral way versus just, this is some information that happened to me. Like my goal is always like, this is what happened to me. And I always want to activate my audience, my listeners, my viewers, to see what it's about for them. So I already told my story, you know, my origin story, or the story that, you know, instead of breaking me, broke my heart open eventually. And that was that my father shot and killed my mother and then married her sister, in case that wasn't enough on my journey of forgiveness, or anger to forgiveness, mistrust to trust. So what I realized, so there was me writing my story for myself to get it out of my head and onto the pages of my journal, which actually started my healing, right? Instead of like, I'm just going to forgive him because that's what you're supposed to do because I can't bring my mother back anyway. That was spiritual bypass and not healing. So when I started finally getting out of my head and writing, I could see what I had gone through, and I could have a lot of compassion finally. And I could realize, and I realized through some very, very angry poetry that I had a lot of anger. And I would wake up in the mornings during these, you know, pretty much sleepless nights that I'd be writing, then pass out. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, who wrote this? Because that's not Brenda. Brenda is, you know, back then a follower, back then someone who felt small, felt I'm a nice person. I'm a nice person. This is my father. I should be, you know, falling in line. And the poems were so rage-filled. And I allowed myself to understand that that was a part of me, and that's what I was hiding, and that's what was keeping me in depression. It was like, nope, I'm not going to feel those things. Then putting the show on stage, writing the characters of my life into being, writing my father into a character, I got to heal and see he wasn't just one-dimensional. He wasn't just the event that happened. He was a man that had dreams that were thwarted, and parents, a mother who was abusive and didn't have the tools, and my mother didn't have the tools. Like I got to see them as, because as an actor, you can't play yourself as a villain. So that was the next step of my healing. So for years, I did do the show. And then I talked about this thing that I ended up acting out eventually. And this is the main thing I'm going to talk about today, is that during one of my darkest times at my home alone, I really didn't know how I would go on. I wanted to take my life. I wanted to join my mother. I missed her so much. Nothing felt nothing, like it was like a colorful life became black and white. And I had my experience with spirit, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, where the intuition you were talking about, like, drops in, where I was so depressed and so alone and really living in the past. And why couldn't I change things? And I felt, I saw the white lights in my head. At the time, I couldn't tell if it was my mother talking to me or spirit talking to me. They were one and the same at the time, but it was much bigger. It was that oneness. And I remember that white light expanding from my head here into the whole room, and just hearing the voice that everything was going to be okay. And it may seem so simple, but that was my experience. I had never grown up religious. I had never grown up with God. I didn't know what it was. All I knew is that it made me feel okay. Made me feel like I could take a breath for the first time in years. And that was really important to my evolving. Probably what led me to my master's in spiritual psychology, led me to have the witness there watching. But it was before I had done any of the studying. All I knew is that this energy would come to me at night when I was having my hardest time. And I wrote it into my show, as far as, I have, in my one-woman show, because it's, valleys and peaks, and it's funny and it's sad and it's raw and it's this and it's that. But, the climax of the show is when I'm really, begging my father to tell me what happened the night that he killed my mother. Begging. And in my head and with drama and lighting, I pull a gun on him, which isn't true. So that's one of the beauties of being able to be creative, whether it's play music and dance or write or do a show. You can exorcise your energy and your emotions in a healthy way. And then I then go into, having this moment at the end where I realized that, there was something so much bigger than me here, God, good, whatever it is, and it was working through me. And then in 2019, I was performing my show in Mexico. And earlier that year, and I had done the show hundreds of times for so many people. And I had had a healing on Father's Day the year before. A friend of mine was going to a shooting range, and I hadn't not touched a gun because I used to go shooting as a Brooklynite, used to go shooting with my family growing up. And he was going to a shooting range. He asked me if I wanted to come, and I was like, I hadn't picked up a gun in all those years, and I was like, I think I need to go. So I went. And, I don't know if any of you have gone to shooting ranges, have you? So you get a bullseye, but you also have these like characters, like these big alpha male cartoons that represented my father. So anyway, I was a good shot. And I brought this one target sheet home because I was like, maybe I'll use it in my show to show this. Anyone who's a writer is always also like, well, what's happening in my life? I might use it. And
just to let you know, 3 minutes. You have 3
yeah,
minutes.
I'm giving thank you. And so my life stopped working very well. Like things were like stuck. And I realized that I needed to do some kind of ceremony around that target sheet and not keep it. And so I did a fire exercise, kind of letting go of this energy. And then the next month I was on stage in Mexico doing a second version of my show, and Divas in Danger with these 2 other women. And at the time in the show where I'm supposed to like pull the gun on my dad, and I've done it so many times. It's like, I'm very angry over here, being in the moment, but angry. I literally dropped down to the floor sobbing because behind that exercise was this release of sadness that I had been covering up. I did all this work, and yet that was still there. This is why I love getting on stage with your work. And if I hadn't had it in my bones, all the practice of performing my show and done the spiritual psychology, I would have literally just sobbed and stopped. But what happened was I kept going till the end of the show. The show was still pretty brilliant, but you could not hear a pin drop, and one of the other people was going on stage and doing comedy. So that didn't work for her because there was no upliftment at the end, right? Because people were thinking about their stuff. So anyway, I looked at the show and I had another day of performance, and I looked and I saw that I had never let the audience in and witness me having that experience with God. I've only just talked about it. And so the next night, I allowed myself to be vulnerable and show what that moment was like. And it changed everything. And it changed the show, and it changed how I presented it. And the audience was so uplifted, and the other woman got her laughs, which she was so happy. So I just want to end on that. These things that we live through, me as an actor, I'm so much about show don't tell. Like, for anyone listening to this also afterwards, it's like, look at where you speak about things in your story in particular and see where you can show and be more vulnerable. And the final remark is that, and also, of course, take care of your inner child, take care of the emotional stuff that comes from being so vulnerable as well. That's what I got. Thank you.
That was awesome, Brenda. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me share.
Appreciate you. Okay, let's just take a breath. All right. So just before we hear from Kate, I just want to ask Sally if you're still around afterwards. If you don't need to leave, I would like you to share at the end of this session. If you're still here with us, not sure if you are or not. Yeah, I can see that you're still on the call. If you have time. So again, thank you, Brenda. That was really heartfelt and very courageous. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I just wanted to get into my 10 minutes. I can't stay, unfortunately, because I have my challenge happening right after, but I want to stay for just a few moments of you starting, Kate, because I value what you have to say. And it was very interesting to me, too.
Thank you. Kate, let's hear from you.
Okay, where to start? Where do you want me to start? I've been on your show before,
I
would
like you to.
Since I have 30 minutes, and we're going to talk about both books and
yeah.
One.
Well, I would like you to start by sharing some of your ET experiences, like just generally speak about what happened in your early life and throughout your life that led you to writing this book. Just spend a couple of minutes on just sharing that part of it, and before you go into the book, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Yeah, I can do that. Well, my close encounters, they started already when I was around 3 years old. Also, people will say that kids, they don't remember that far and all this, because they can't remember, then anyone else can't remember either. But I have a very, very good memory, far too good if you ask me. I remember even further back than just 3 years old, so that's why I remember the 2 years incident very, very well. And this first meeting was around Christmas time. And my mother, she has put me to bed for the night. So I was standing in this crib and I couldn't sleep. I was standing in this crib, in this dark bedroom, and just looking through those big, big windows that we had in our bedroom. And there was no light in the streets, or we were on the second floor, so there was no car with a light that could come up and beam up the room or anything like that. So I remember I was standing there just looking, and then suddenly the wall on my left side become blurry, and then this gray creature came kind of gliding out through the wall and over the floor, and suddenly was standing in front of my crib. And of course, since I was 3 years old, so I was kind of start blah 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 and trying to connect with this creature, and he didn't say anything. So after a little while, I understood that we actually communicated through our mind, not words. So then I understood that he was there to see if I was okay. and just felt good to be around him. And after, I don't know for how long, you said something, but there was no sound.
Oh, it was a positive experience.
Yeah, it was absolutely a positive. So yeah, he was there to see if I was okay. And after a little while, then he just glided out the same way that he came. And in the next moment, I saw this creature together with another one inside of a craft, hanging outside my bedroom window, and then they just took off. And in my little head, oh, Santa Claus, yay! Because my mother, she has told me that in about a week's time or something, Santa Claus will be coming. So in my head, oh, because he didn't present himself. So in my head, oh, Santa Claus. So, but the thing is that 1 week later, my mother took me on her arm into the living room because I was going to meet Santa Claus. And in the living room, there was this guy with a false beard, plastic face, and a red suit. And I was screaming, I was terrified, and I was also angry because that was not my Santa. So, so of course, my mother, she was very confused about this. That's the kind of expression that she gave. But over the years later, when we have been talking about this incident, then I also have learned that my mother, she has also have seen them through her life, and my grandfather has also seen them. So it goes through the family.
It's generational.
But on my father's side, it has nothing like this happened at all. So that's why she didn't say anything or didn't make any number out of it.
And it's been happening throughout your life at various stages?
Several times, yes. The second time was when I was 10 years old. I'm not going to dive into that one right now. So I'm diving into the major one that I had when I was going to Gould Mountain. That was back in 96, 97, something, I think. And I was supposed to be on this cabin for 2-3 months alone because I was going to do this book. So you can say it has been a kind of long span to getting it done. And I had stayed up there for almost around a week, I think.
This is the book that you've written now. This is your new book.
No, that's the hybrid story.
That's your first book. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the book about all my experiences with the paranormal and UFO and all these kind of things, spiritual awakening and so on. So yeah.
Can I ask you, when did you first realize that you are a hybrid?
Well, that took many, many years. When you start looking at your life and you are seeing all the puzzles and you are putting them all together, then it's very hard to start to deny that you're not.
Right. So just so that I understand this, both of your physical parents were Earth people, right? Yep. Is that right? But you have a consciousness or part of your makeup which is not of this earth, right? Is that am I getting that right? Do I understand
that? Well, when it comes to how to explain that, if I understand your questions correctly, they are not. It's not only the bloodline; they're also following the soul line. So right. You can have been one of them before, and you move into this kind of vehicle instead, but they will still follow you.
Right, because there's the belief that we are all of that ET origin, in some way. However, I understand that there are different star beings from different parts of the galaxy. What do you feel is your mission in this incarnation?
Oh, there are plenty.
Right.
There is plenty. Yeah. And the thing is that I've been to several conferences before, and they have been very hooked up from where are you from? And everyone is talking about Atars or the Pleiades and just a very small group of the entire universe. And then I'm thinking that would be a hell of a lot of waste of space. So if someone asks me, well, I'm saying I'm a universalist because I'm coming from everywhere.
That's wonderful. I I like that. So you've been given a platform where you can reach a vast amount of people, right? You've been on Norwegian television, you've been on Gaia TV, you've written books where, hundreds of thousands of people know about you and have heard your story. And what do you feel has led you to write the book that you've written now? What was that journey?
You think about this one, you mean?
The new book.
Well, that book is because as Brenda also was talking about, I also have a very rough background.
Right.
And that led me to actually be suffering from deep depressions.
I see.
So, and of course, over the years, when you're struggling with this kind of things, you are getting to know yourself more and more and more. And you also see how things are changing over the time through the years. A lot of people, when they are hearing the word depression, they are thinking, okay, depression, well, good advice, take a trip in the park, do some exercise, eat healthy and blah, 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 and you will be fine. And they are treating depressions as there's one and only this, just one shape of the depression. Because if you are looking into my book, you will see that there are lots and lots of different kind of depressions. There's premature or the birth depressions. There are violent depression, post-traumatic stress depressions. If you are struggling with deeper depression, let's say the first time you have it, you will have up till 50% chance to get a second one. The second one, you are up till 90% to get a third one. And when you have passed the 30 and the 40 and the 50 round, the things that could be working the first time and the second and the third time, they will not be working when they come too far to the other end. But people in the street, they don't see the difference. They don't see the difference in you or anything. So they will give you exactly the same advice all the time. So that is very frustrating. So I was thinking, well, I need to make a book about this.
And do you use art as part of your therapy?
No, not that much. I enjoy doing art, yes, when I have time. But no, I don't do it as a therapy, no.
Any other kind of creative processes that you do? I suppose writing, right?
Yeah, writing, painting, building. I've been a carpenter for 30 years.
Oh, really?
So
painting is what I was seeing. I was seeing you painting. So you do art?
Yeah, I do.
I would love to see some of your work.
Well, right now, most of them is packed down in boxes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the process that you experienced that helped you heal from your depression.
Well, the thing is with this kind of deep depressions that if you have had them too many times, they are so anchored in your subconsciousness that you will never get rid of it.
Right. But you have, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh, so it's still there, but you manage it.
Yeah, I manage it. Yeah.
Right. And what were the tools that you speak about in the book?
Well, in the book, I'm talking about, of course, the different kind of depressions, and I also talk about different levels of the depression, what can be working on the different stages, and what you should do before next deep dive. Of course, there is healthy food, exercise, walking, hobbies, colors in your home, do stuff with yourself, all these kind of things. But of course, at the end of the book, I'm start talking about something that is called functional neurology.
What's that?
I was actually lucky because I was so deep down that I had nothing more to go on. So this actually became a life savior. It was actually my friend in UFO Norway, when that one existed, Odd Gunnar Rød, that told me about that his chiropractic center. They had this guy there that was working there that has been trained in the US doing the functional neurology. And it's actually made for people who has been out for an accident or hit on the head or this kind of things, because it makes your synapses and your energy, how it moves around in your brain. With these cameras and the things that the testing that they're doing, they can see where it slows down in your brain and see where the damage are, and they can also fix it by simple programs that you're kind of doing. Actually, the funny thing is the military has some of the tests too that you're actually doing.
Interesting.
So there's no drugs, no medications at all, and no troubles afterwards. So that's super. I was lucky because since I was already starting with this book, Knows About Water, I actually got a 1 week treatment for free. So we were doing it for five times a day. So it was quite extreme, but we did 5 times a day for a week. And I had a serious meltdown right after when I came home. But after that, I can go down, but I don't go that deep as I normally did. So it has healed me a lot.
Can I see the cover of your book? And please translate the title.
Yeah, Knows About Water, that's the top line, and how to prevent depressions and how to be depression-free without drugs.
So like nose above the waterline, is that?
Yeah.
So you can breathe, right?
Yeah.
Rather than drown.
This one is almost, it's kind of, he can sink and drown, or you can go the other way.
Yeah.
So, and actually now I've been working like crazy the last few days. So this book will now come up as an ebook on the Amazon in the next few days.
Oh, so will it be available in English?
Yes.
Great. And it's called Knows About or Above?
It's called Knows About Water, but in English it will be Keeping Your Head Above Water.
Oh, okay. So if we type in your name, we could see it.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And just please spell your name for the people that may be listening to this video later.
I'm horrible at spelling. I think
So
I shall not do
it's
that.
Kate and then THO.
If you look at this one.
There we are. THORVALDSEN. There you go. For the people listening in the future and now. Thank you. Okay.
This one will also come as an ebook on Amazon after some time, but you can also find it on my homepage.
And a hybrid story. Fascinating. Yeah. So what has been the most beneficial aspect of this neurology healing? What does it involve? Does it involve touch? What is it?
No, it's actually, you're most of the time actually looking at the screen, that your eyes is following different kind of movements. You are plotting some numbers, and there's also this kind of different weird kind of tests. I've never been experiencing anything like that before. And it's actually making, of course, after the test that they're doing on you, they're putting on these glasses. It looks like skiing glasses almost.
Yeah.
And the computer is registering how your eyes is moving. If you're looking from here to here, you will think that you're looking in a straight line, but that machine will discover when it's kind of in different areas and so it will read your brain to see where in the brain where it kind of actually slows down, and by the programs afterwards, then they can actually fix it.
Well, there's something called EMDR, which is used for trauma therapy, which is very similar in terms of connecting the left and the right brain, and they use eye movements. So the person, I've had some trauma therapy because I had some PTSD from some stuff in my childhood, and I had a session with a lady, and it's all about looking at different points. She makes you follow the pen and moves it in different ways to connect your left and right brain. And I think there's something to do with the movements and the thoughts that you have while you're looking at it that helps you reprogram your mind. It sounds similar. Am I right?
Well, here it doesn't matter what you think. Here's you shall just do the stuff that you're asking you to do.
Oh, got you. Okay, that's really fascinating. And how did you say it? This therapy, what's it called?
Functional neurology.
Functional neurology. Okay.
It's not that very well known. And I think that absolutely there's one thing that I should be putting on my agenda after some time, is that this should be something that the government is actually helping people and paying for the people to do this kind of treatment, instead of putting them through years and years and years with happy pills or all other kind of crazy treatments that they are doing right now.
Right. So we're here with Kate Thorvaldsen. Did I say your name correctly? Thorvaldsen?
Yes. One of the
Great.
few.
Welcome to Melora, who's joined us, who's going to be talking afterwards. Could I ask you to mute your just for the moment, Melora, please, if you wouldn't mind. So Kate, would you tell us a little bit more about your last ET experience and what happened? Was that when you were in the cabin?
Yeah, that was the major one, when I was in the cabin.
Right.
I woke up in the morning. I've been staying there for 2-3 days, and it was a nice, quiet place. I loved it to bits. It was so quiet that you can hear the quietness. Absolutely perfect. A little tiny cabin with no electricity, nothing, all good. And then the next morning I'm waking up and I'm feeling that my nose is sore and my throat is sore. And I was kind of thinking, am I getting sick or something? But then I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and then I see this dried green, grayish material kind of from my eyes and from my nose. And of course, that was a little bit weird. But the most weird thing was actually, if you think like a grip like this, if it was like a metal fork kind of grip, so it was over my eyelid and my face like this, really, really clear mark over my eye. And trust me, I can see a difference from a pillow mark. And by the way, I don't sleep with my face like this down into the pillow either. So I thought it was weird. But of course, since you're alone in a cabin, you have to fire up the cabin, you have to get yourself your food and everything. And of course, this kind of get in the back during the day. But when the evening came, I changed big time. It was like every cell in my body knew something had happened, and I would not go back to sleep the next night. So I did my best to use an old mobile phone to call the people that was owning the cabin, if they could please come and get me back down, because I had no car, nothing. And I was
You were alone?
I was 20 kilometers in the mountain without a car.
And you were completely alone?
Yes.
Right.
So I was sitting there, and I was waiting in the living room, pitch black outside. I was sitting there very stressed out. I was stressed big time. And then suddenly those two people came into the veranda and they were talking at the same time. I think I was almost scratching the roof as a reaction. And then they, of course, picked me up, took me back to the society. Then I can really feel the big change when I came back down there, because one thing is that I was light sensitive, but you know, when you are charging your mobile phone,
yes,
normally you don't hear a sound. When I put my charger into the wall, it was screaming like a microphone when that one is screaming on stage.
Oh, you could hear sounds that normal people don't hear.
Yeah, it was
Right.
extreme. And of course, I was staying there for a day, and then my friend in UFO Norway, he came back and picked me up, took me back home. I was living together with him, and I haven't seen him for a week. And I was thinking, okay, I put on the perfume that he gave me. Normally, I didn't smell it because I lost my sense of smell when I was 10 years old, when I had their second visit. But now, after the third visit, suddenly my smell came back. So I had to just turn around and inside again and wash it off, because this was just overwhelming.
Too overpowering. So can I ask you, when did you realize that you had some kind of abduction experience? Was it a long time after that? Or?
No, because of all of this, then he was contacting the hypnotist man in UFO Norway.
Right.
He came, so I was on the bench, so we went through a hypnosis.
Yes.
So there I could tell that night I was in bed, and there was big bright light coming into the door. And there was this creature standing there. It looks like it was one of the grays, but it was more like a tall one. And he had this very strange kind of transparent dress on him. It was like a
I
woman's
see.
skirt almost, but it was very weird, but it was very beautiful to watch. And then I was following him out from the bed. And then when I came into the living room, I was floating in the air flat. And then I had 2, 3 others of the smaller greys around me. And then there was having this kind of a helmet. It sounds like a horror movie from the 70s, that you had this helmet with this on my face. It was to keep the helmet still. And you had this kind of how to say it, arms with this
Yeah.
kind of forks thing looking at
In your
it
nose.
in my nose. And I always hated that someone was going to touch my nose. If someone tries to touch my nose, I will hit them. And of course, that's a result of this. And I
Okay.
also had these needles that they were sticking inside my ears.
When I hear you talk, you sound like you have a lot of love for.
Well, I have been going through a lot of things through my life together with them. I know that they had never done anything to harm me. Even if it sounds terrible, they had never done anything to harm me. It would be the same thing, actually. Let's say if you have never heard about a dentist before, and you go to a dentist, you would be terrified like hell. But he's there to help you. So, and the thing is that after this, I was having a lot of extra information downloads, and it came very, very easily. I didn't need to do anything to get the downloads. And then, of course, after several years, we had a lot of fun here. We were joking about implants. And my friend said, why don't you buy one of those neodynamic small magnets? They are quite strong, very, very tiny. And then you just put them on where you think that perhaps you have an implant. Because of course I've been joking about implants all my life. Ha ha ha. But of course, perhaps I have. Because I had this triangle shaped thing in my neck. And I bought it, put it on, and it did stick. That was a kind of wow. Okay, what do I do now? And then they say, well, since they have been doing around with your nose and all sorts of areas, why don't you try it all over your body? So we did. So we found out that when we stopped counting, I had more than 35 implants symmetrical placed. So they were joking, talking about perhaps you were like a walking, talking antenna. Right now I have a little bit makeup on my face, but you can take this magnet here and it will not fall off. And I can jump and it will not fall off. So I can put it here. And it will be the same thing. So I found out that I had 2 here, 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 and here, and had 5 in the front, all the way down my spine. And the latest one I found also a few down my stomach. Then I haven't bothered to look for more.
Alexis seems to have like had, I don't know, some kind of computer problems. And I'm the host now. So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever, because when I work, I often remove implants from people, extraterrestrial implants, but it's in the etheric realm. Have you ever had to try to get them removed, or
No, I don't want to.
you don't want to? Okay.
No, they're there for a reason.
Okay.
And I also know that they are there for a reason to help me also, because in my family, we have severe heart conditions, super high blood pressure, and all of these kind of things. And in my x-rays that I have, you can actually see 3 implants, like a triangle under my heart.
Okay. So these were implants that were put in to benefit you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Wow. I'm just going to check my Facebook Messenger. If you could keep talking, I'm just going to check to see if Alexis sent me a message, because I don't know what's going on. No, he hasn't. So I don't know what happened, if he lost internet or and I don't know how much time you had left. I don't.
I don't know. I think I've probably been around 30 minutes by now.
It's about 30 minutes. So, is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Kate, at this time?
For some reason, I got blank.
Okay. So maybe if anyone has some questions for Kate, I think Sally, you just had a question for her.
Yeah, I just wanted to know the little magnet that you used. Where did you get that from?
You can buy them online.
Literally just a little tiny round magnet.
Yeah, but they're called neodymium magnets. They are super strong, tiny and super strong. So this is not a magnet that you will find on the fridge.
Could you write the name of it in the chat for me, please? Is that okay? Thank you.
I'm not sure if I'm spelling it right, but
I've literally just never heard of anything like that before, so it's quite new to me. But thank you for sharing.
It's amazing, isn't it?
something like that.
Okay. I'm gonna write this down. Neodymium magnets. Does anyone else have a question for Kate? This is incredible. Laura, do you have a question? No? Okay. I did have a question. The therapy that you were talking about, the functional neurology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that this would be beneficial to anyone with PTSD, any kind of trauma?
Absolutely.
Survivor? Okay.
Absolutely. They are just restoring the brain function.
And where did you say it was available? You had your treatments?
Well, I did mine in a place called Tønsberg here in Norway. So,
Okay.
but of course, the guy who was learning doing this treatment, he was trained in the US.
Okay.
So there is different kind of places. You can also, if you can Google the name to see if there are anyone doing it, practicing it in your country, or you can try to ask a chiropractor if they know anyone.
Okay, because you said it came out of chiropractic.
Yeah, he was the son of the chiropractor. He is a chiropractor and doing this kind of treatment.
Right. Yeah, because I can think
absolutely beneficial.
I can think of a couple of clients of mine who have had to resort to medication, or they think they've had to resort to medication to deal with PTSD and so on, and depression and so on. And so I want to check this out and maybe send it to them and see if that might be something they would want to pursue. Oh, Alexis is coming back.
No, it's absolutely worth trying, because as I said, there is no medication or anything with it, so you don't have any problems.
Much better. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're all connected. I lost you there. Thank you.
I took over.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So,
but I was getting nervous because I didn't know what was
lost the internet connections. Mercury retrograde strikes again.
Just admit it. The host fell asleep.
Yeah, maybe they took me, and I don't know what happened.
Alexis, everyone asked some questions, and so I think we're good to go unless you have some questions.
I just want to ask the question.
You did.
What was your response to, your good feeling towards the ETs? Where does that come from when you sound like you've been violated?
Well, as you know, I think that it helps a lot. It's that my first experience with them was a positive one.
Right.
That helps, of course, a lot. And I also know that I never felt fear for them, and I also always know that they have never done anything to harm me. And as I was saying before, that let's say if you're taking a kid, or let's say you're taking an adult person and put them to a dentist, and that person has never heard about a dentist before, he would be terrified.
I see. So do you think, well, there must have been some kind of consent from your higher self for this to happen, right? So there's some kind of agreement between you that maybe they're checking you, maybe they're helping you. But what I was wondering is, do you think that your depression is linked to your ET experiences? No, separate, something completely different.
I can give you another quick example of how they can help me.
Okay.
when I was in Bulgaria in 2018, and I'm having a lecture down there in a big conference, and I was feeling so bad the night before. I had my ankle that was almost broken. That was one thing, but my blood pressure was super high, and I was really, really feeling super bad. And
Right.
I know that if I was at home, I would actually call the ambulance.
Right.
But since I was down there, I was thinking, no, I'm not sure what to do. Well, I will just try my best to go to sleep, and I will hope that I will wake up in the morning. So it was that bad. But the next day, I was talking with one of the other speakers, and he said, why don't you ask your helpers for help? And I was thinking, yeah, why don't I? There's a long, long time since I've done that the last time. So, well, I went back to the bedroom, laid down on the bed, and I was closing my eyes and say, okay, I need some help here. Can you please come and help me? And did not take long before you can imagine if you're lying on bed and you're closing your eyes, and then it's like something very, very physical. Do like this on your knees and drag down your legs up to your toes, and then hands gone. You will be sitting straight up in bed and what? Like this in a split second, because you know you're alone in the bedroom.
They
And
healed
you
you.
can't see anyone. Okay, a little shock, and lay back down again, and it happens again 2-3 times.
Okay.
Then you know that they're there to help you, and you're feeling so much better. And then they're all gone. It's all quiet again. And when I come back down to the reception afterwards, people are talking about they have seen a UFO above the hotel.
Oh wow. Kate, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there because of time.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today. If people want to contact you, could you just give us your website, please?
They can go into www.katethorvaldsen.com.
Great.
They will also find this book as an ebook and paper version, and also in Italian.
And just hold up your book one more time so that anybody watching can get that spelling one more time. A Hybrid Story, and your other book as well. Please hold it up one more time. And the English title of your book one more time, please.
Keep Your Head Above Water.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
This one will be available in 2-3 days, I hope.
Great. And that's on Amazon. Appreciate you joining us, and thank you for sharing your story. I hope you come back. There's so much more we could share. Because of time, I'm going to have to move on. And Melora is with us, and you're going to share your experiences with prayer, right? Thank you for being here. And if you wouldn't mind also keeping an eye on the time. So please tell us about your experiences, because I know you had a near-death experience which really changed you, right?
Yeah, I would call it something similar to a near-death experience. It was definitely a profound spiritual experience. You can call that whatever you like. So you would like me to speak about my experience with prayer after this moment?
Yes, just if you could encapsulate what happened that created your profound experience, which changed you. If you could just spend a minute or two just talking about that.
Sure. So on January 11th, 2019, I experienced something like an out-of-body, out-of-mind experience. It was not something that I was looking to have happen. I wasn't expecting it to happen. It's never anything I thought would happen. I would say my level of faith at the time this happened, put it in a biblical sense, was the size of a mustard seed. Really nothing, but I guess it was enough. I felt myself to be larger, expanding to, into the realm of the stars, we'll say. And I did encounter something like a light, a presence. I can't really describe it. It was a presence. It definitely had something to it that we would call, you could call it God, you could call it a higher power, you could call it a universal mind, call it whatever you like. I felt it as a presence that made me feel about this big. It made me feel utterly in awe. And
so can I ask you, were you, before this experience happened, were you particularly a spiritual person? Was prayer something that you did on a regular basis?
No.
No.
I prayed since I was a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
I was not religious in any sense. I was not spiritual in terms of practicing spiritual things or involved in a spiritual community. I was not an atheist, but I would not call myself somebody who was interested in knowing, for sure. I just thought probably there's something. There's probably
So
some
you
intelligence.
channel, right? You channel and beings from the higher dimensions speak through you. Do I have that right?
Yes, that was a result of what happened to me. When I returned to my body, I was able to channel many beings from many different dimensions and realities and bring forth that information as well.
And what do you do now? I know you mentioned on the last time that you were with us on Sacred Segments that you do very powerful healing work where you were with somebody for one session and it can last for many, many hours, and you heal them on a very, very deep level, where you look at the whole aspect and that they have like profound healings during the end of that session. Could I ask you, when you go into prayer and you connect with your higher self or with these beings, like, can you describe your experience?
So I want to clarify, first of all, that I don't heal anybody. I
Right.
have not person. It is a presence that comes through either myself or the person I'm working with at the time who does the healing. I am not the one who does this healing.
I understand.
The praying that I do, which I do it on a daily practice, is, most people think of prayer as primarily saying words or thinking thoughts, but prayer, as I understand it in my life and how this presence operates as a healing presence within our bodies, is sort of a way of living in this presence. So living in awareness of the presence, even, enjoying that presence. So, and when I mean presence, I also mean that this is something that is present in the present, the now moment, which is not as empty as people think it is. So this presence is either in this now moment or it is not at all. And this now moment, which is the moment of prayer, is not one that has any competition with the past or the future. It's not judged in comparison with any other. So this presence does not deal with us like this, does not deal with humanity like this. And prayer allows me to know the truth of this. So entering deeply into communion with this great mystery, I do not experience a God who compares or judges or differentiates. I experience an all-embracing kind of receiver who recognizes the divine image in each one of us. So prayer for me, in these moments, is something that I'm giving to I'll just say God, just because it's easier. I'm giving to God as a gratitude and acknowledging what God has done for me. And it is, each one of us, prayer is an expression of the longing within our human heart for this connection to God. It's a desire for a relationship with whatever our perception is of what God would be. It's a desire to have a relationship with this presence. And when those moments of prayer, it is also God's attention to that desire. So God in communion with us when we pray. For people who are religious, I think there was a disciple, or one of the disciples, who said something like, pray without stopping or pray unceasingly. And of course, you know, if we read that as prayer requiring words, I mean, that's impossible. We've got too many other things to do. We can't just be in constant prayer. But the idea is that trusting that this presence is the deepest truth of reality. Prayer is outside of that language. It's a way of existing. It's an attitude of walking always in the present moment with just awe for the experience as an expression, as an aspect of this presence, you know, in material form. And it flows through us. But we do have to continue choosing to stay there.
I love the words that you used. It made me think of an expression that I heard once, which is, you know, I'm a singer, right? And that it said, one who sings prays twice. That was the expression. And I kind of understand what they mean, because like you experience an experience that's outside of yourself. And from what I gathered from when you were talking, it's like you're acknowledging the oneness and allowing that to come through you and being fully present in that oneness. You know, when Kate was speaking before you, she was talking about her experience with ETs. Is that something that you've also experienced?
I have had connections with many what I would consider off-earth entities. My interpretation, I don't know if this is true in Kate's, my interpretation of their interactions with Earth at this time, I understand Earth to be in a liminal space right now that will last approximately a century. So in the 1940s or thereabouts, Earth entered this liminal space where it was overlapping into the future, which it always does, but we will, to make it simple, it moved into the fourth dimensional space from the third dimensional space. So we know that Earth is, but what we also need to understand is it's going upwards, so to speak, in a spiral.
Yeah.
So upwards. So the Earth, since from 1940s-ish, 45-ish to about 2045-ish, is in this liminal space. We're now much more fully in the fourth dimension, which means those beings who are existing in what we would consider to be the future. So all humanoid species come from Earth. Earth is considered the womb of this galaxy for humans. So all of these, many of these off-Earth creatures are future existences. So this is what humans evolved to become in, however many millions of years. But they exist in a space where they are able to interact with Earth. Many of them do so. They recognize what they would call human ancestors. So a human ancestor, an ancestor of their race from Earth, and they seek to create a state of physical health within this ancestor to preserve the genetic structure, so to speak.
Melora, I'm so sorry that we're out of time, but I do want people to be able to find you. So it's meloramoon.com, is that right?
Yep. Just www.meloramoon.com. I appreciate that. I don't do a lot of advertising. I'm a firm believer in that whoever finds me is meant to find me.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that there must be an element of truth to this idea that the ETs are an element of our future selves. And there's an element of time travel and multidimensional existence going on in this experience, right? you've really given us some food for thought, and I know it's a massive topic and such a short time. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you being here. I need to close this session, but before I do, I just want to hear from Sally for a moment. Thank you, Melora. Sally, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Hey,
Hello.
so just quickly tell us where people can find out about your work, and on the next Sacred Segments, I'll have you introduce yourself at length.
Yeah, that's fine. It's been really nice to listen. Actually, it's been really lovely to absorb all of this. Yeah, I've got a website called Leap Mindfulness, so you can find out some stuff about me. Not everything. I keep some stuff to myself.
Good for you. Good for you. And you teach mindfulness and meditation. If you'd be open to it, I would love for you to guide us in an opening session next time, which will be on Wednesday in 2 weeks' time. If you're available, I'll contact you in the meantime. But you sound like you're from Birmingham, which is where I also grew up.
I am from Birmingham. I'm a Brummie.
We have that in common. Thank you for being here, all of you. So I'm going to close this session with a gratitude and a power word. So I'll start, and I'm going to go around the group. I'm just going to say something that I'm grateful for and a word to connect with an element of power. Okay, so I am grateful for this time of reflection and personal freedom. And my power word is peace. What's yours, Sally? What are you grateful for?
I am really grateful for my friend Denise, who essentially started me on this whole journey nearly 10 years ago. So I'm super grateful for her, because she just gives so much without asking for anything in return. So very, very grateful for her beautiful energy.
Lovely. And your power word?
My power word is guide or guides, because I just think the idea of just tuning into your guides is just invaluable.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sally. Okay, Anna, can I hear from you?
Sure. I am grateful for the opportunity I've had over the past 2 weeks to dive down really deep and really shift and transform and do some really deep inner work. I'm grateful that I've been able to do that. And my power word is transformation.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. And Melora, your gratitude?
Well, I'm always in gratitude every day for the complete healing of my physical body, so that I can do what I do today. My power word probably would be unity. I feel like until humanity realizes that whatever we do to one another, we are doing to ourselves, it is the only way to have this unity of consciousness, is really the only way for us to continue to survive.
That was beautiful. And you do what I do, where I know that when I'm having a spiritual, very powerful, dynamic experience, that I kind of rock, because I can feel the energy, and I see you doing it too.
Yeah.
I feel where you're at.
I didn't realize I was doing that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting. Thank you for opening your heart to us and sharing. Appreciate
Thank you for giving
everything that you said. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here, sending light and love to you all and to this globe, all the consciousness of humanity, and everywhere that needs it. Thank you for yet another Sacred Segments, and Lots of love to you. Have a beautiful evening wherever you are, and hope to see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take
Good
care.
night. Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
You
night.
too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.